All right, this analysis for textbook brokers was prepared and will be presented by Michael Anderson, Philip Jiggier, Ryan Golden, and Matthew Powers, aka the Seven Figure Savages. We're going to start the presentation and analysis with some background information on textbook brokers. They were founded back in 1997. They're committed to excellence, which they define as their commitment to customer service. Another key point for textbook brokers is keeping costs low. So students' main focus is their education, not worrying about how they're going to pay for their course materials. Textbook brokers currently already has several partnerships with university athletic and bookstore programs, such as the case with MTSU and Lightning's Locker Room. They've also, in their somewhat short history, have been able to give back to universities and students by creating scholarships for certain students in business programs. They do have a pretty strong online presence with Amazon and Chegg partnerships. Currently, they have over 100 locations nationwide, and they are planning to continue expanding. They also are big on national and state legislation, advocating for the rising costs of textbooks, as they do realize it has become a problem in the recent years.
Okay, so let's look at a SWOT analysis for textbook brokers. Some of their strengths: they are a cost leader in the college textbook sector. The books that you can get from textbook brokers are usually significantly cheaper than buying them or renting them from the campus bookstore. Increasing market for rentals versus buying the textbooks outright. The Since the textbooks are generally never used after the student has finished the class, this is a really good deal for them because they don't have to pay as much to keep a book that they're never going to use. They also feature a rent now, pay later program, which is designed to benefit all income segments of students. This allows the students to access the required class materials as soon as the start of the class without having to pay for them as soon as they come in. So you get to use the books and then come back and pay for them later, hence rent now, pay later. For the weaknesses, they have substantially fewer locations than their main competitor, Follett, who is the primary principal textbook provider of many college bookstores. They're not able to compete as the curator in every target market because of the fewer locations. Not able to compete in every market because that they don't have the resources yet to get to every school out there, as opposed to the campus bookstores that are usually all through Follett. With them being off campus, this leads to a lack of name recognition, as many incoming freshmen may have no idea what textbook brokers is, what they do, or who they are, due to the fact that when they come on campus, they usually are staying on campus and not going trying to find books at a cheaper price. They're just trying to get what they can whenever they can get it. For the opportunities, multitude of new markets to enter into, including new physical locations, as in new universities that they are not currently in, and new items such as maybe renting technology, as in maybe renting iPads or computers to students who don't have the money to afford to buy one outright. They could become the sole provider of services at schools, which includes not only the rental of textbooks and materials, but also the chance to be the provider of more materials such as online access codes and the entire virtual homework platforms that a lot of college professors are going to nowadays. For the threats, low level of entry barriers, although the books may be expensive compared to other industries. Buying $500,000 worth of books will get you a long way, as opposed to buying $500,000 of anything else. Therefore, it's not, and it's as hard to get started in this industry as it would be in, say, a technology sector. Don't have control of the supplier pricing. If the cost of paper were to substantially rise, then the cost of the textbooks that textbook brokers gets from their suppliers would therefore go up, which would hurt one of their main strengths, which is their cost advantage. And the rent now, pay later idea is a great idea, but it's not the sole idea of textbook brokers. The bookstore Follett, they use the same general idea. So that's a positive for textbook brokers, but they are not the only company that does use that.
When you look at the current strategy of textbook brokers, one of the biggest things that you notice is whether or not the students want to rent or whether they want to own. So they have the option to, of course, buy the textbook in a traditional manner, but when a lot of students don't use the textbooks after the class had ended, why should they pay a full price? So textbook brokers gives the students the chance to rent most of the textbooks that they offer at a substantially lower price. And if the student wishes to buy the textbook at the end of the semester, then they have the right to buy the book and use the price that they paid for the rental towards that purchase price. Another part of this rental policy is the deferred payment plan, or the rent now, pay later. What this allows is it allows students to get their supplies before school starts, but a lot of times they don't have the money to pay for these until the school refund comes in, and so textbook broker sets a certain date after the refunds go to the school. That way people can pay for their books or supplies at that time. When it comes to the online market, it's a lot of things have started to shift. It's the emergence of ebooks, including through textbooks, and also with wholesalers such as Amazon that are able to reach students all over the country. Instead of trying to use the capital required to set up an online marketplace to sell or rent out these textbooks, textbook brokers partnered with Amazon. They are now able to sell or rent their textbooks regardless if they have a physical presence at the university that the student is attending or not. If Textbook Brokers is affiliated with the university, students can go online to their website and see what specific textbooks and other materials that they need for the classes they registered for. Once ordered, they then have the option for the books to be sent to a store close to their campus, or they can be shipped directly to the consumer. When talking about brick and mortar stores, it's important to notice that allows face-to-face interaction and a way for customers to pick up online orders and additional supplies. It also allows them to go in and speak with people personally if they're not sure exactly what they need for their classes. So all they have to do is bring in their class schedule, and one of the people who work there can help them out and get everything that they need for them. They also supply miscellaneous items such as Scantrons to take tests on that are offered for free, and all you have to do is stop in and grab a couple. In addition to offering textbooks and school supplies for sale or rental, Textbook Brokers has partnered with affiliated schools to sell merchandise inside of their stores. Some schools, such as Middle Tennessee State University, have even signed contracts with the athletic programs to sell both name brand and generic items. This helps textbook brokers maintain sales during down periods that occur mid-semester and when school is not in session. Lastly, they have a pre-semester sale. This is the only time that textbooks are rented at a discounted price. It takes place about 2 weeks before every semester, and it's a 15% discount for 2 days only, and this is both online and in store. They combine this with the rent now, pay later to create an incentive for students to get all of their materials early, and even offer a full refund for up to the second week of school if the textbooks were not needed for the class.
All right, so Textbook Brokers faces major competition from two main companies, the first of which being Follett, and the second of which being Barnes & Noble Incorporated. Barnes & Noble is a Fortune 500 company, and right now is the bookseller with the largest number of retail outlets in the United States. They retail content, digital media, and educational products. And as of October 15th, 2017, the company operates 633 retail stores in all 50 U.S. states. So as far as brick and mortar is concerned, Barnes & Noble is Textbook Broker's strongest competitor. We're also going to look at the lack of school contracts that textbook brokers may currently possess. Competitors in the same industry as textbook brokers have already built strong relationships with other large universities across the country. Also, with a lot of educational materials being controlled by governmental entities, it's hard for textbook brokers to be able to breach some of these contracts that other companies have formed. To be able to compete with some of the power that the larger companies like Follett has, it's going to have to do a better job at getting into some of these contracts. We're also going to go into restricted access and control of material delivery. So something that plagues textbook brokers, they don't have all the contracts to be the delivery source of all the material that some of the universities need. So it's not always just textbooks. Sometimes it's access to online portals. Sometimes it can even be technology, such as laptops or things like that. And at some universities, the companies like Follett that control things like that have the power to control all of it. Of course, we have the digital capabilities as well, which is going to be textbook brokers' ability to access e-material and how they funnel that through their pipeline, because some of this today is developed solely by the textbook companies themselves, and the only way to access it is straight through their website. And here we're going to get into the recommendations. So the first thing we're going to suggest is that textbook brokers increase its physical standing. In order for textbook brokers to combat the large scale of brick and mortar stores that Barnes & Noble has and the large scale of physical locations that Follett controls, it's going to need to increase its strength in its current off-campus stores or in its current stores that are on campus. They're going to have to really hone in on the things that they do right in order to increase the capabilities with the schools that they've already started to do business with. In order to grow themselves, they're going to want to employ some stronger sales tactics. In order to acquire more contracts, they're going to have to make themselves more appealing. Something that can really help them with this is looking at services like bundling. Textbook brokers does do some things with MTSU, for example, like controlling some of the apparel for the sporting events, and also doing some scholarship opportunities and just finding ways to give back to the university, because ultimately at the end of the day, what the university is concerned with is how students are going to benefit from their bookstore and from the services offered by the bookstore. And the only way textbook brokers is going to be able to get into the bookstores to prove that they can be that source of benefits. And the final thing that we're going to suggest is becoming the absolute curator of all educational materials once they get access into the university. So this is a goal that textbook brokers already has in mind, but what they're going to have to do is convince these companies, colleges, for example, when they get in there, that they're going to be the portal for everything that is offered. So when we say that, we mean textbooks, we mean sources of e-materials such as products like My Math Lab, or online ways for professors to contact students, technology, anything that has to do with going to the school, period, less housing and transportation. Textbook brokers would be the portal to access all of that.